So I believe he is coming in. Here he is, Mr. Lou DiBella. How about this? He's actually here. There he is. Lou DiBella. What a pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
This is great.
Good to see you. No problem.
You're doing this under duress.
Nah, it's all right. You know, I lived through one solar eclipse, so you've seen one, you've seen them all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did it happen yet?
I wasn't looking.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
And how dark is it going to be? Do you know?
I think it's only 70% eclipse in New York, so I don't think it's going to get all that dark. It's not a big.
That bling over there is blinding me.
Oh, this is my World Series ring.
Wow.
Well, I have 3 of them.
You have 3 of them?
Yeah, because Richmond Flying Squirrels right
That's
here.
right.
We're the AA affiliate of the San Francisco Giants. I'm president of the team.
You have another team that you own as well.
Yeah, I'm also I'm also president of the Montgomery Biscuits.
How about that? Wow. This is fascinating. The Montgomery Biscuits. That is incredible. So you get a ring even though you're part of the AA affiliate.
Yeah.
Wow. What year is that one?
This one is they got bigger with each championship for the Giants. So I think this is the 3rd one. This is 2014.
Okay. And why did you get into minor league baseball?
Because I like baseball better than any of this shit.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
More than boxing?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your major league team? Like, you grew up Yankee fan or Met fan?
I grew up a Met fan.
Really? Okay.
I have no major league team, basically.
But
now I don't. But no, I actually root. I mean, I root for the Giants. Now I'll start to root for the Rays because you get to know the players and they move on and they move on to the major league team.
How long have you been in the business?
It's like 12, 13 years now.
Really? Wow. Well, and how often do you get to go to the games?
I not all that often, but I just got back from a trip to both Richmond and Montgomery. I was there over the last like 8 to 10 days. I was in both cities, so. And by the way, I try to get there pretty regularly. It's a good counterbalance to boxing, which is certainly not a family-oriented kind of sport.
Right.
Where like minor league baseball is like sort of like memory-making business. Feel good, families, kids. Yeah. A lot less negative energy.
That's right. And we will get to that in a second. But why Montgomery and Richmond? Why not like the New York teams, or closer to New York? Why such random locales?
Well, actually the Richmond team was originally in Connecticut when I first purchased it.
Okay.
Except when we were in Connecticut, we were in the middle of a ballpark in an industrial park, and no one really came. And then the Richmond market opened up, and we were able to move the team to Richmond. Richmond's an unbelievable city.
Okay.
It's a booming city, big market. That for minor league baseball, because it's like one of the bigger markets that doesn't have a professional team.
Okay.
So like Richmond's a great city for minor league baseball. The fans in Richmond are unbelievable.
Wow.
And we're going to do the same thing in Montgomery. I mean, we're going to import the culture that we established in terms of the relationship with the city in Richmond and the people of Richmond. We're going to like move that kind of culture to Montgomery, and I think we'll do well there too.
I love that. I'm a big baseball fan myself. I was an Expos fan. They're no longer with us, but I love.
They had a great hat in the old days.
They did, yes.
That red, white, and blue.
It's somewhere right over there. I wear it every day. Okay, well, we're not here to talk about baseball. We're here to talk about combat sports. And the reason I wanted to end this sort of journey to the fight with you is because we spoke in June, and I just loved your take on it, because the old boxing guard was like, this is a disgrace. How could this be happening? But
they still are. I'm blown away by some of the rhetoric and I just said this to a writer, Lance Pugmire in the LA Times. The idea that somehow this is like runs against the purity or sanctity of boxing. Since when has there been any purity or sanctity to boxing? I mean, like, what is it? People want to see this. That's why it's happening, and it's sort of a one of a kind event.
Yeah.
There's only one Mayweather.
Yeah.
He's been sitting off for a while. He's 40 years old, but he's never lost. He's 49-0. He's one of the great fighters of all time. And McGregor's McGregor. You don't have another McGregor in MMA. You don't. There's nobody in UFC other than McGregor like McGregor. I've never seen a guy who's a bigger self-promoter and has a greater ability to... Look, he's got people convinced he can win. I mean, that's credit to him, man.
What, you think he has no chance?
No, I think any man getting in there who's powerful and has a punch has a chance. Hard for me to imagine that in a boxing match that he could prevail, but he's got power, and he's going to be really unorthodox. I mean, I haven't really been following all the training footage and stuff, but the little I've seen says to me that he's going to throw some stuff at Floyd that maybe Floyd hasn't seen before.
Yeah.
There's always a danger, and when an event gets to this kind of magnitude, you tend to inflate that danger. Like you tend to wonder, like, what could happen here?
Right.
Like, I think I know the result, but I think Floyd's going to win.
Decision. That seems to be. Although you see the odds.
Yeah, well, it doesn't shock me. I mean, look, it speaks to the strength of McGregor's. You know, like McGregor's got a great rap. You know,
right?
McGregor's. It's you know, he's convinced a lot of people he can win because he's convinced he can win.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and that makes it interesting, by the way. The dude thinks he's going to win.
Right.
I believe he believes he's going to knock out Floyd Mayweather.
Absolutely.
Right. That makes it more entertaining to me going in. Okay. Like it makes me more sort of interested. Like I'm going to go.
So you are going?
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Okay. Are you going to actually attend it?
I'm going to go. Yeah.
Really? And why did you decide to do this? Because you were kind of on the fence the last time we spoke about this.
Yeah. I mean, you know, why not? I have a lot of friends that are going to be there. It's going to be like a convention of the you know, combat sports industries. And I'm curious, you know, like the promotion. Look, I have to admit, I was at that shit show in Brooklyn. You know,
Yes, you were there. I saw you.
Right.
Yes.
But it was entertaining, like until it got like weirdly until I felt like I needed a shower.
Yes.
It was really sort of entertaining. And the one in Toronto that I streamed that one.
You watched it?
Oh yeah, that blew my mind. I mean, it was just like really
16,000 people outside. It's raining.
It was friggin' unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, it was like I've been to fights that weren't as exciting as that press conference. So like, you know, I got like, you know, I want to go, and also like the tickets are free.
Oh, they are?
Well, for me. I mean, not that free.
How do you get free tickets?
I mean, I don't know. I sort of know Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, that's right.
You
guys are on good terms.
Yeah, we're very cool, yeah.
Okay. How do you feel? So there's so much I want to ask you as far as like the build-up, the actual promotion of this fight. This is one of those fights that you don't really need to do all that much promotion. I mean, it's Conor, it's Floyd, they're kind of self-promoters. But, you know, just from your perspective, do you think they got it? Do you think it's been hitting all the marks? Or do you think that there were some missteps? Brooklyn, for example.
I mean, there probably were never press conferences more widely viewed for any combat.
That alone makes it a victory.
I would say so. I mean, there's certainly no lack of awareness. You can't avoid this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go out, you just flick the channels through any sports package, and like every one of these talking head shows, and you know, you have like people that never talk about combat sports talking about it constantly. You know, it's being discussed over water coolers. People don't really, a lot of people aren't sure that it's a boxing match. They don't know whether it's an MMA match or a boxing match or some kind of hybrid, but everyone knows that McGregor's fighting Mayweather.
Right. Even
people who don't know who McGregor and Mayweather are, they know.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of the awareness you want.
That's why I don't understand when people say this is bad for boxing. Boxing is being talked about.
Boxing's been bad for boxing. The fuck is this bad for boxing? Boxing's been bad for boxing. Bad decisions, shitty undercards. I mean, look. I've been in this industry for most of my life. I mean, literally, like more of my life in boxing than out of it, which is frightening. And by the way, at some point before I don't want to be King and Aram and be 85 or 87, 86 and doing this. I don't.
You have an exit plan, baseball.
Yeah, baseball, and I mean, I produce some documentaries, and I like messing around in the film industry a little bit, and look, I don't think I'll like totally get out of boxing. It's sort of in my blood a little bit, but I don't want it to be the dominant thing in my life.
But you say boxing is bad for boxing.
Boxing's been its own worst enemy. I don't subscribe to MMA did boxing in or MMA heard boxing bullshit. I mean, they're two very different, you know, sports and disciplines. And maybe 10 years ago, like I didn't get MMA to the extent I get it now. I'm not a big fan, I have to admit, but like I don't hate on it.
You watch it?
Sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, like I never did before. You know, it was weird. I was like, I was watching Dillashaw fought somebody, and it was an unbelievable fight. I think the other guy hadn't fought in a while.
Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, that fight was great.
3 years, yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know much about MMA, but I knew that was good.
Okay.
Like, and I was watching that.
You appreciated it.
I really did. Like,
wow.
I got it. I got like, and I saw like a lot of stuff in that particular fight that I said, wow, like you know, there is more, you know, like I was missing, you know, I think I missed the boat a little bit a long time ago and not understanding the skill that goes into this. Like, in that fight really I found very compelling. And, you know, I don't watch regularly, but yeah, I watch. And, you know, now I have Heather Hardy who's competing in Bellator, and I have other women who fight for me that are about to get into MMA.
Who's that?
Amanda Serrano wants to test it out, so I think she's probably going to.
Okay.
And she's got, you know, she's won like 5 world championships in 5 different weight classes in boxing. She's widely considered. She's actually going to try to, you know, tie De La Hoya and Pacquiao and make history and win a title in her 6th weight class. I think, before the year ends.
Okay. Which promotion is she talking to?
At the moment, I mean, she's sort of like, talking to a lot of people.
Okay. You have to
She's
give her the
friendly with
okay.
Misha Tate. She's friendly, but I think she's talked to Misha Tate about maybe managing her.
Well, why don't you manage her in MMA?
I could. I think that
why give her to someone else?
I think that there are a lot of. I have a promotional contract with her.
Okay.
And it goes on and a number of years, and I think that there are illusions that people have right now. I think people are watching this, MMA athletes as well as boxers. They're watching this event, and everyone's believing that the grass is greener on the other side. Like everyone thinks there's like, some giant windfalls out there to be had. Maybe to some extent because of the success of Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm, Misha Tate, and Chris Cyborg, others, that MMA's been kinder to women that get to the ultimate level than women's boxing's been to women who win championships and still can't pay the bills.
Right.
So I understand more why women are taking a good look at MMA right now, because they see potentially greater opportunities. But I think when they go out there and they fish around and they really look at what's out there, they'll see that it's, neither path is necessarily paved in gold.
So, okay, we went in a lot of different directions there. I want to get back to my original point, which was I actually believe boxing has had a better year than the UFC/MMA. I believe that boxing is producing the fights that people want to see, producing more entertaining fights. The UFC, for whatever reason, since its sale, has actually hit a bit of a rough patch. I think this has been a phenomenal year for boxing. Do you disagree?
There have been some very good fights in boxing.
Even this past weekend, Terrence Crawford?
I mean, to be honest, the other guy didn't have a shot.
All right.
I mean, like, Terrence Crawford's a great fighter. So
good
it's worth
showcase
watching.
on ESPN, right?
Good showcase.
Yeah. You need to start building some
You can't complain about a guy totally unifying.
Right.
In boxing, we have too many belts. There's like, there's 4 major organizations and then some of them have sub-championships and there's champions out the wazoo. I mean, Crawford just totally unified a weight class.
Yeah.
And really proved his, just how good he is. And he's very, very, very good. So, and look, Golovkin's fighting Canelo Alvarez, that's a terrific fight. Thurman fought Garcia, that was a terrific fight. Errol Spence fought Kell Brook. There have been good fights all over the world. Joshua Klitschko. But boxing's demographics keep getting older, and you could say you've had a good year, and for the purist and the hardcore fan, we probably have. But we continue to make stupid mistakes, and there continue to be bad decisions on major televised fights or on fights that are widely watched.
Yeah.
The demographics continue to get older. We're not attracting enough new fans. I think, there's been a lot of, takes on boxing on free TV. But one of the things it has done a little bit is make it more accessible to younger people. When you have the event starting at 12:30 a.m. often, or midnight, you're not a lot of kids watching boxing with their dad or their mom, as the case may be.
Right.
I think boxing has had a good year in terms of making more of the big events. Last year was a horrid year. So we really came out of darkness and into some bit of light in terms of bigger fights happening. But in some ways, I don't think we've gone into the 21st century enough in terms of how it's presented. I think we got to do a better job attracting new fans, because as an industry, as a sport, boxing continues to become more marginalized, and there's too many pay-per-views. There's too much pay-per-view. I only so many times I think people want to go in their pocket, and this event Saturday night is sort of a freakish event. It's it is what it is, and people want to see it because they want to see it, because there's never been this sort of disciplinary kind of matchup, and McGregor's done such a great job, honestly, on his end of promoting the event and promoting. I actually think it's worked out pretty well for the UFC, because in a way now I'm starting to come to the conclusion it's almost like a no-lose proposition.
Why do you believe that? I was actually going to ask you, do you feel, are you surprised that the UFC allowed him to do this?
Originally I was, but then when the magnitude became clearer to me and how much money it was, I actually thought a while back it wouldn't happen, because the probability would be Mayweather would win. and the boxer would beat the mixed martial artist, now I sort of concluded I don't think it matters. Because if the boxer beats the mixed martial artist, a lot of people are going to say, well, it was boxing.
Right.
Dummy, he's supposed to beat him.
Right.
And to a degree, I think that's sort of true. I also think that McGregor is going to go out there believing he can win, and he's going to try to do some unorthodox stuff. He's going to try to hurt Mayweather. He's going to try to find him. He's going to try to hit him. He's going to try to hurt him. That's more than Pacquiao did when they fought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you wind up buying this event and watching this event, in a weird way, I don't think there's any way it could be worse in the ring than Mayweather-Pacquiao was.
Sure, that bar is very low, though.
Yes, but it's still a bar.
Sure.
I mean,
so some believe that there was a trickle-down effect, that fight kind of hurt boxing for a year or so. Do you fear that there might be a trickle-down effect if this one ends up being a dud?
No. Because people.
You think people will, like, this doesn't hurt Canelo, Triple G 2 weeks later?
Well, I mean, maybe it hurts because a lot of people are going to spend $100, and they have to worry about the money they would spend on Canelo and Triple G. The boxing fan, the hardcore boxing fan, which, by the way, the promoters of Canelo and Triple G hope that they're going to, go beyond the hardcore fan because it's such a good matchup.
Sure.
But the hardcore fan's going to watch anyway.
Okay.
And a real boxing fan's going to watch anyway. It's just a great matchup. The economics may be an issue for people who have to make that kind of decision. It's $100 or whatever it is to watch this coming weekend, and then they're going to hit you up for another, what is $70 or $80 a couple of weeks later. Not everyone could keep dipping into their pocket that way. But no, I don't think like what happens in the ring and how the fight goes down. I don't see that hurting Golovkin and
or
Alvarez.
any other fight.
Or no, because it's an MMA guy fighting Floyd Mayweather. It's like I don't see how this is going to hurt boxing. And if you would have asked me like a year ago,
what if Floyd loses?
Yeah, that's not good.
You think that's bad?
I mean, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Some motherfucker that never got into a boxing ring before, ever. I mean, he's a striker and he's got power.
Yeah.
And in fairness to the Nevada Commission, because I also don't believe that they were wrong. Like I don't think like all these people have been critical. How did they license the fight?
Yeah.
I mean, McGregor's been in the ring a bunch of times. I mean, he's like not a boxing ring, but he's been in combat, many times. And I don't see like it being dangerous in any kind of sense.
But if he beats him,
it doesn't help. How the fuck could that help boxing? I mean, how could? No, seriously. Like how? That's not good for boxing.
Oh my God.
If one of the best fighters who's ever lived loses to some padded up dude who's got a great rap and never been in a boxing ring before by knockout, because that's the only way it's going to happen. After that dude predicts a knockout. No, that's not great for boxing, but I don't expect that to happen.
How do you feel about the Nevada Athletic Commission allowing 8-ounce gloves for a 154 fight?
People, the whole glove thing is uneducated. People are uneducated.
Okay, educate us.
In some ways, like a bigger glove, you might get cut more easily with a small glove or whatever, but the concussive nature of punches is the snap in your head and your brain moving and hitting your skull. And the size of the glove is sort of somewhat irrelevant, I think. I mean,
but the fact that there's a rule that at 154 you wear 10 ounces, and for this fight, which you can argue they should be a little more conservative than not, that they dropped it down? I really don't think it matters. I don't think it's... You don't think that this will set a dangerous
From neurologists I've spoken to and people I've spoken to over the years, I don't think it's a health and safety issue.
Okay.
And I mean, arguably, I guess you would believe it would be an advantage for Conor, the smaller glove, you would think.
Yeah.
He's used to fighting with no gloves.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, 4 ounce.
Well, excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Well, you're sitting and worried about 8 ounces, and it's half of that.
Right. I'm not worried, but everyone's up in arms. Yes.
I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that matters. I don't give a fuck about what happened when he sparred somebody.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit.
Okay, so let's talk about it. You know Paulie.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your relationship like with him now?
We're cool. We're
cool?
good. We're good, yeah.
You once promoted him.
I once promoted him, and then we were not good.
Yeah, you were not good.
Yeah.
Now you're back?
I mean, we're cool. Like,
Okay.
we're fine.
Cordial?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel about that whole thing? Them releasing the footage?
I mean, you know, they're releasing the footage. They're promoting a fucking event.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about Paulie. They don't like know. Paulie's not their friend.
Yeah.
Paulie doesn't hang out with Conor McGregor.
No.
I mean, I think he got bit on the ass a little bit, maybe.
How so?
Well, I get it's like, I'm not necessarily agree. I don't want to get in the middle of this shit because I think it's like, first of all, I think who gives a fuck? It was sparring.
Right, right.
It was sparring. A lot of shit happens in sparring.
Right.
Okay. But, you know, I think there's some kind of expectations usually that what goes on in sparring sort of stays there.
Yeah, yeah. Did they cross a line by putting this out
They're
there?
like, yeah, but they're crossing a much bigger line into a whole fucking different sport. So who gives a shit? They're trying to make money. They're trying to promote something. You know, Conor, like, the footage looked good for Conor that was released. You know, the
It's like
pictures.
8 seconds, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it didn't, like, I mean, they're trying to sell a pay-per-view.
Right.
Now, do I understand why Paulie may have found it, like, you know, to be a sort of like a burn on him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he went there sort of to help out and whatever, and then he wound up getting embarrassed. And, you know, like anybody that's ever had success in anything, Paulie's got a big ego.
Sure.
And, you know, like, I could get his being upset.
Was it a knockdown or a push? Here it is right here. Was it a knockdown or a push? What do you think?
I mean,
What do you think?
I think that if it was a real fight,
Yeah.
they would have called it a knockdown.
You think so?
Yeah, because there was like something connected.
Yeah.
But like, was he like,
Yeah.
you know, was he like friggin' stretched out and like, you know, face first or like on his back and couldn't move? No, I mean, if you watch it, it's clear that he's a little bit off balance and whatever. But I mean, Conor McGregor stood over a guy that had a pretty damn good boxing career, and he got to release that footage, and it made a lot of people talk. And even all the bullshit between, you know, Paulie and the McGregor camp afterward, it just kept, you know, gave another sort of storyline for people to talk about.
Yeah.
It probably didn't hurt the magnitude of the event.
Paulie says he wants the fight now.
With McGregor, I'm sure he would, knowing
St. Patrick's
Paulie.
Day, Barclays Center.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like,
think it happens? I think he could do 1.5 million pay-per-views easy. After all this buzz?
well, then, I mean, if you're right, it happens. But if you're right, it's going to happen. Money talks.
Yeah. If Conor wins, you think he sticks around in boxing?
Fuck yeah.
Really?
Sure.
You think the UFC would want that? Because they make more money with him in the UFC, right?
Well, they're also going to have an issue. Look, if Conor wins, he's going to make a lot of money whatever the fuck he does.
Sure, sure.
If he wins, he'll make a lot of money in boxing. If he wins, he's going to make a lot of money in UFC. He's going to make a lot of money if he decided to like go talk to, you know, Stephanie McMahon and the whole crew over there.
Yeah.
He'd make a lot of money there too.
Sure.
I mean, if he wins, he's going to be printing money.
Right.
You know, not to mention the fact that if he wins, you'd have a, you know, a rematch that would be of like incredible magnitude.
The funny thing about the sparring session is I've said this, like, if you talk to a fan or a person who knows nothing about sports and just try to explain them this whole Paulie story, they think that we've lost our minds, that we're like spending so much time talking about push, knockdown. The whole thing is pretty stupid, right?
But it's pretty stupid to talk about a sparring session. It's a fucking sparring session. It's a sparring session. Sparring.
Yes.
Look it up. It's
Yes.
sparring. I mean,
Right. But people are actually putting stock into this. They're like, wow, I've changed my opinion.
Then they should go to batting practice and then leave before the game.
That's right. That's right.
You know, there's no stock in this.
Okay.
In that.
What-
And does it happen? It happens. And, you know, some of what's going to determine whether it happens might be what happens in this, and you know, in McGregor and Mayweather.
Right.
If it's really entertaining and McGregor loses, and you know, and you really believe it could do it. If McGregor doesn't hurt himself in the loss, if he goes in there and he makes it entertaining for as long as the fight goes, maybe you see a Malignaggi match, and maybe you see him continue to box.
Right.
You know, if he has a good showing against Floyd Mayweather, then maybe he's a better boxer than we all think.
Now, what about the actual card itself, from your perspective? Because boxing promoters in the past have been sort of vilified for having, Dana White himself said, "Oh, you make a main event, the rest of the card sucks." Did they put together?
You had an example of that the other night too.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Crawford?
Yeah, I mean, it was just not compelling, anything that led up to it.
What about this one?
But we've done that, by the way. Like, that's a big problem in boxing overall.
Yes, absolutely.
And this one, like, you know, the fight with Cleverly and Badujak.
Oh, yeah.
It should be a good fight.
Yeah.
You know, Badujak is a boxing champion. Cleverly is a guy that's at the highest level. That should be a good fight. Gervonta Davis is one of the better young fighters out there. I mean, I think he should win the fight he has pretty handily, but it's an opportunity to see a guy that some people think down the line, you know, has the potential to be a big star. You know, it's not a bad undercard.
It's not.
No.
Okay. They're also going to be on Fox. I'm just curious from your perspective, so many more eyeballs, new eyeballs, MMA fans. You know, we wouldn't be talking about this card if it wasn't an MMA guy in it. I was wondering if you...
Well, you know, Floyd promotes Gervonta.
Yeah, of course.
So it's a natural for just a good business move for Floyd.
Right.
To make sure his guy looks like King Kong.
Right.
And he's going to. I mean, it's going to be, I expect Davis to knock his opponent out and look pretty good doing it.
Okay.
And I don't think it's going to be boring because watching a guy knock another guy out usually isn't.
Right.
You know, the Cleverly Jack fight makes sense on a lot of different levels, Cleverly being from the UK, where this fight's going to have a lot of legs anyway. And that's going to help, I think, with the traditional boxing fan over in the UK to see the Cleverly Badu Jack fight. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the undercard. You know, would I buy the undercard as a pay-per-view without the main event? No, but it's an undercard.
Sure.
But it's not one of the. I mean, there've been some undercards previously that have been just heinous. And
right.
No, this is. You know, there's one significant, very good fight. There's one young, extremely talented fighter in another match. That's a credible match. There's nothing wrong with it.
Pay-per-view record 4.6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it beat it?
Not sure.
Do you think it gets close?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, look, my intuition tells me it beats it. Because of just the
magnitude of this.
Well, just how you can't sort of escape this.
Sure.
You can't change any moment of the day. You know, go through your cable, you know, or satellite remote, and someone's talking about this, or something is in front of you about this, and then just the number of people that are talking about this of both sexes. Not only MMA fans, not only boxing fans, just general sports fans, because everybody else is talking about it. It's an event. It's not a boxing match. It's an event.
Yeah. It's close to also beating the gate record. Are you surprised about that? Because there were some people who said that they overpriced the tickets. You see this talk. They haven't sold out. Last word I heard, they still had 1,200 tickets left. I mean, it's still...
Well, when your ticket price is start at $10,000 and go down to what's the lowest price ticket, 2,500 or something.
Yeah.
You're going to do a huge gate, you know. Yeah, I'm not shocked. This thing is big.
Right. You mentioned 10 years ago how you felt about MMA, and of course, MMA fans. I remember it was a Friday afternoon before UFC 71.
I mean, come on with that shit. It was 10 fucking years.
Yeah, but I want to know: do people?
By the way, that's just your sport's also changed in 10 years.
Because I'm talking about the Sports Center.
No,
debate.
I'm trolled on that fucking interview constantly by these douchebags. Like, fuck enough.
Why?
Already.
But why? Because what did you do that was like? Why? What's troll worthy?
I don't really know. I mean, I saw an Aram interview from some years ago with you.
Yes.
That I thought was far more troll-worthy.
That's right. Where he was
out there calling them white supremacists.
Yes,
and shit.
yes.
I mean, you know.
Yes. You just had a debate.
I mean, we had a debate.
With Joe Rogan.
I was sort of like, you know, that would.
How did you even get the call to do that debate?
I don't know. I got the call, and it was like, I don't know. I don't know.
You regret doing it?
No, not really. I don't give a shit.
I watched it last night. It was very entertaining.
No, I mean, I don't really regret doing it. I mean, and at that moment in time, I think it sort of reflected how I did feel.
Right.
And I want to tell you something. I did in the early days of like UFC and when MMA started really, you know, the Fertittas got into it and it started getting out there to more eyes. It was a lot more savage. It did look a lot.
You feel like it's gone cleaned up a bit?
I feel it's cleaned up a little bit, yeah. And I also feel like, and maybe I've just also, you know, gotten used to it. You know, I don't know.
There's one line in that where he says, you know, you're just someone who's taking this also personally. Of course you're taking it personally. It's your line of work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't actually feel like you misrepresented yourself or the sport.
No, I really don't. I don't really give a fuck either. Like, I mean, I'm trolled about it. Okay, I'm more amused at this point that people are still talking about it.
Yeah,
10 years
it's a great
later.
moment.
I've never had another fucking conversation with Rogan about either sport.
I'd like to see you guys come together.
I would do a show. I think it'd be fucking amusing.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. I don't think they'd be like, you know, to each his own. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm never gonna love the grappling part of MMA. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate, you know, that there's a tremendous skill to making somebody tap out, to knowing how to bring someone to the ground, to knowing how to defend, being brought to the ground. Like, I get those things. Okay, but there's aspects of it I just don't like. viscerally. And I'm never going to like. Just I've been conditioned for. I'm not a I'm a 50-something-year-old guy. I've been watching boxing since I'm 6, 7 years old.
Right.
I like that's the combat sport that I've been involved in for all these years, and I've been watching since I was a kid. And I don't enjoy the grappling part of it. I don't like the strikes when a guy's like on the ground. And again, it doesn't mean I'm not demeaning what's being done.
No, I know.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not like criticizing people that dig it, but I just like it just sort of like an part of me that
I just want you to know that I enjoyed it. I don't want you to have negative feelings towards it.
No, I really like I don't.
Did you get crap from the boxing community, or is it more the MMA fans trying to pile it on you?
No, the boxing community, I didn't really get any shit from.
Yeah, okay. So that's all you care about anyway.
No, that's not true, really, at all. I mean, I first of all, I get trolled by the boxing community.
Really?
Like, yeah, because like first of all, boxing is very factionalized now.
Okay. From
like networks to like, if you, I've promoted a lot of fights for the Premier Boxing Champions, thing that Al Heyman created.
Yep.
And I promoted a lot of really, really good events. But like the criticisms I've gotten have been like crazy. But like, people are entitled.
In terms of what? About that model?
It's just the model. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
If you're seeing a good fight, you're seeing a good fight.
What does it matter?
What does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really, like, what do you care about the model? Like, what do you care about what you should care about is competitive matchups. You should care about entertainment. This is the entertainment industry. Boxing is, MMA is.
Right.
Next Saturday night is.
Do you like the MMA model as opposed to the boxing model? Do you feel like that's a more sustainable model, a healthier model? Basically, MMA is more like pro wrestling, right? Where you have different leagues. Everyone's under contract with that league, as opposed to boxing where you have different promoters.
But then you get into aspects. I'm not here to talk about this stuff, but you get into aspects of fairness.
Yeah.
You get into aspects of fair pay.
Yeah.
You get into aspects of not legal monopoly or legal. I'm not talking about legally, because clearly there's not a. I don't want to get into it. I went to law school, so I'm a lawyer.
Yeah,
but I don't think that there's any. But like, there's UFC in a very dominant position. Sure. Boxing's at a huge disadvantage. I don't want to get into what's the better. If you're the athlete, the model is probably better for the boxer, the paradigm.
Yep.
But as an industry,
yeah,
the model is better for MMA.
Why do you think that there's an Ali Act for boxing, but not for MMA?
No, that's absurd. There should be an Ali Act for.
Why do you think that is? We've gone this far. The sport is
because
here.
when they wrote MMA has really had its great popularity over the last decade.
Right.
So it's if you go, State Athletic Commission rules, by the way, were written before TV was the primary factor, and they haven't changed. I mean, so like, why is the... No, there should absolutely be an Ali Act that... If there's going to be an Ali Act that covers boxing, there should be one that covers MMA. Do
you suspect that there will be one soon?
I don't know.
The word is that the UFC has sort of lobbied against it.
The UFC has tremendous, money and tremendous power.
Yeah.
They didn't help me certainly with lobbying in the insurance industry and lobbying with respect to getting UFC okayed in New York.
Has that killed your business?
Well, locally, it's hurt the ability of any promoter in New York to do smaller shows in New York because of insurance requirements that somehow changed for an MMA bill.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not blaming. I wasn't there, so I have no one to blame. I'm not pointing fingers. But why did these insurance requirements change in an MMA bill?
Right.
And then also they, I don't get it, but it's made it difficult to promote. There's no central authority in boxing. There are ratings organizations that have their own agendas that hand out belts, and they do so, a lot of them, pretty indiscriminately. I mean, there are 4 different championships at each weight class, but there are some of the organizations have multiple titles, interim titles, silver titles, all sorts of belts. I mean, but you don't have a commissioner of boxing. You don't even have standardized medicals. But I don't think you have that for MMA either.
No.
But think of the fact for neither sport, and this is to me pretty savage, in the United States, there is no standardized medical requirements for combat sports. It's fucked up. You need certain states, you need MRIs and CAT scans done on a regular basis. Other states, all you need is blood work and an eye test. And you could have been concussed in your last 10 fights. You know, you could get knocked out 10 times in a row and go to certain jurisdictions in the United States and get licensed to box. That's a problem. You know, the health and safety stuff, there should be across the board uniform medical, you know, requirements and standards, you know, in my mind for any combat sport, and they should be uniform across all 50 states.
What was your reaction when you heard that they sold for $4.025 billion?
That they made a great fucking deal.
Yeah. Were you surprised?
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. Do you think it's worth it?
I don't know. I mean, I asked the bondholders.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't, you know.
That's a big number. That's more than any sports team in North America.
I mean, it's an unbelievable. Look, I never criticize people for making a great deal.
Sure.
They made a great deal.
I was just curious if you were actually blown away by it.
I thought it was a huge number.
Right.
And then when I look now, and I've heard that I guess the bonds aren't so strong. You know, they paid an awful lot of money. But that's also reflective of the success that the UFC had. And, you know, kudos to them for being able to build it into an asset that they could sell for $4+ billion.
Have you ever met Dana White?
Yeah.
Your relationship with him?
I mean, cool. I mean, we're not good friends, but like, I can talk to Dana. Yeah. We're cordial and cool.
How do you feel about his promoting skills?
He's good.
Yeah,
he's a real promoter.
Yeah.
I mean, in the terms, like, you know, like he's, you know, he has a passion for MMA. I think I have a passion for boxing, for whatever criticisms any people want to give me. I think you need that kind of passion to be a good promoter. You know, the UFC needed a face guy, an out front guy.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem with you know, boxing also, is that the industry doesn't have a face guy. Each promoter sort of is, to a degree. There has to be some cult of personality around, like, you know, Bob Arum, certainly, you know, he's getting older now, but Bob was a great promoter. King is sort of as 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Right.
At this point, he's you know, in his mid-80s.
Why doesn't Heyman ever speak? Why is he so shy?
I don't know about shy. I think that's who he is. That's his style. He's never been a guy that's been out there.
Doesn't that go against everything that a promoter
Well, it's not, but he's not a promoter.
Okay.
He's legally a manager, and maybe, you know, look, I've worked heavily with the PBC, but maybe if I was going to make, you know, working with someone, respecting them, being friendly with them, doesn't mean that you can't look at something and say, okay, maybe I would have done this a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Maybe the PBC needed somebody more out in front.
Is it done?
For the whole thing. No, I don't think it's done.
So why don't they make you that guy?
I'm not. It's not a decision I make. Okay. You know, I've gotten the opportunity.
Okay.
Look, Heyman's my friend for 19 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good guy?
I think he's a really good guy.
Okay.
Like, I think he's a good guy, and I like the guy a lot. And I don't let, you know, people don't tell me where I make my friendships or
sure.
who to like and
Is
who
it
not
true he doesn't use email and things like that?
He's just a very, like, private guy, and he's very, like, old school. He doesn't even like, you know, he prefers to use a landline, you know, to a cell phone unless he has to.
That's incredible.
He's not the kind of guy that does a lot of stuff on paper.
Okay.
A lot of his relationships are very, and I guess this speaks to some extent that he's got a lot of people he's done business with for a very long time, a lot of relationships that have lasted a very long time, and you know, a sphere of people that he trusts. Look, you know, I didn't raise the money. I didn't, you know, and I didn't. That's not my thing. I've had the opportunity as a result of it to promote some great fights and to work with some great fighters. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to be sorry for that. And I think that I've been able to, you know, I get these constant jabs about, like, you know, being somebody's bitch or whatever, and you know, being somebody's mouthpiece. Anyone who knows me knows I'm nobody's mouthpiece other than myself.
Right.
I'm not a mouthpiece for anybody. But that being said, you know, UFC sort of needs a mouthpiece, and Dana's filled that function. And promoters who are successful need to be mouthpieces, and not mouthpieces for somebody else, but for representative of the event, of the industry, of the fighter, that they're the fighters that are competing. There needs to be narratives and storylines and shit that writers can write about and guys like you can talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that's why UFC made a wise decision and having Dana out front, and I think Dana's pretty good at it.
In your opinion, greatest promoter of all time?
P.T. Barnum, but if you want to talk
Sure,
about,
I know him.
if you want to talk about boxing,
Combat sports.
You know, boxing, you'd have to look at King and Arum.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily in love with, you know, the way either one of them has done business or been. If you view the guys that are the biggest powers in an industry as having a responsibility for the industry or the sport, then I think they both failed.
Okay.
But if you view people as just having a responsibility to themselves and their company, and just you're there to make money, then they were in my mind the two best. King had more of that sort of theatrical P.T. Barnum thing, and not as, in my mind, as good a business guy as Arum was.
Okay.
But a bigger celebrity than most of his fighters.
Right. As does Dana to a degree. You can make a case that
you can make a case that Dana is also.
Right.
But Dana's, it's sort of a different situation too. Dana started out with a huge checkbook. I mean, the guy, I guess he knew the Fertittas forever or whatever, and the money was there behind them. In terms of most boxing promoters, they started their own businesses and it was their bread. It wasn't somebody else's thing.
Yep.
I'm not detracting at all from
No, I understand.
Dana. And by the way, certainly Dana holds a lot of the credit for the growth of that business. And, you know, if you're the out front guy and, you know, you go from something that was losing money to selling your company for $4+ billion, the out front guy's done a pretty decent job.
A couple of weeks ago, we were in Las Vegas for the open workouts, and Leonard Ellerby, who's typically like, you know, he's kind of, I don't want to say he's vanilla, but he doesn't, you know, he kind of stays on script, was talking about the negativity in boxing and how tired he was getting phone calls.
Because you know what, like, I don't blame him. I mean, I'm not involved in this event, but the hypocrisy of shit I'm reading and
like, what bothers you?
I'm bothered like this crap, like people going out there with manifestos, like the De La Hoya. I already like blast. I put him on blast when my collar was fucked up on that video.
It was a great interview.
It's a great interview, except like I watch it now.
That kills you, right?
Yeah, because like I look like.
How did you mess that up? Because you had a button here and then you went here, right? You went like this.
I had a long night the night before I did that interview. My glasses weren't on when I buttoned my shirt. I buttoned my fucking collar to my like top button, and like
I didn't even notice until you mentioned it.
Yeah,
I was locked in.
Well, I didn't notice until someone like the second or third comment to your interview was like the dude's shirt looks like the fuck's the matter with the dude's shirt? What's this guy like you know? But
anyway, you went off on him.
Yeah, but like I mean, I don't really want to go off on him again.
Did you ever hear from him after that?
We don't talk.
What's the beef there? Is it because he said mom and pop? That you were a mom and pop?
No, Richard Schaefer actually said the mom and pop thing.
When he was part of Golden Boy.
Yeah, but fuck them. I mean, and by the way, I think that's a compliment. Like if I could sustain 20 years, you know, almost 20 years as a promoter.
Yeah.
After all the time I had as a TV guy, but I could sustain that with a mom and pop business being, I'd say at this point, I'm pretty much world known in my industry. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's good.
So what's the issue?
Pretty good mom and pop business.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, man. I don't think I threw out the first blasts in that thing. And Oscar and I had a good relationship when I was a TV executive and he's a fighter. I don't really want to, look, the guy's got some demons and everybody's got, you know, I don't criticize people for their demons because, you know, who doesn't have issues in their life.
Right.
I think the guy's a bit of a hypocrite, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And I don't think he's very real.
Okay. Hypocrite in general?
Yeah, in general.
Not about this particular fight.
Yeah, I just think he's the kind of, I think he's
Okay.
I think that he's the last person that should be holier than thou.
Yeah. So this idea that he was saying to people like, ignore the fight, boycott the fight.
Okay, but he was also saying, put Canelo Alvarez in the fight, it'll be bigger than Floyd Mayweather.
Arum was saying, put Pacquiao.
And I was saying, put Pacquiao in the fight. And you know, Arum also said yesterday, I was lying, today I'm telling the truth. I mean, you know, there's no fucking there's no sanctity or purity to boxing. Boxing has always been the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
I mean, I love boxing. And I love the purity of two people, you know, mano a mano or woman and woman, getting in there, and it's not necessarily the better athlete that wins. Often it's the one with the bigger heart, the person that's can sustain more punishment, the person that has no quit in them.
Yeah.
There's a poetry to boxing, there's a theater to boxing that can make it very beautiful. You know, there's also a lack of any kind of appropriate self-regulation. There's terrible judging, where with regularity, where the politics of boxing dictate the outcome of a fight, and I could literally pull, 3 8-year-olds and sit them in the judges' seats, and I don't care about the scorecards per round by round, which is sort of antiquated way. The whole system of writing the little thing in a paper hand. I mean, we got to get. Maybe would things be a little easier if you made believe you were in the 21st century. But you can put 3 8-year-olds around a ring and just ask them who won the fight.
Right.
And I'm going to guess I'm going to agree with the 3 8-year-olds more often than I'm going to agree with the judging in fights. There are some excellent, excellent judges. There are also some judges who are completely, either so inept or so easily co-opted as to be completely ridiculous. There's judging that's ridiculous. And also, here's another thing too, like judges, okay? There's no standardized like accommodations, whatever. So like, if you put a judge at the Four Seasons and you let him, you pay for his family's airfares and you treat him like he's a celebrity, as opposed to having the judge staying at a B-class hotel with the rest of the people. Like judges in boxing aren't treated like referees or umpires or standardized stuff that exists in major sports. So in boxing's there's a level that it's sort of like inherent corruption. It's not corruption in the sense of someone buying a result, but certain things you can do if you play the game, to affect the result, and that sort of sucks.
So in this fight, the referee Robert Byrd is getting 25,000. The judges are getting 20,000. That ties the record for Mayweather-Pacquiao. Do you feel like that's enough? I know that's
it's enough.
Yeah, with the amount of money that's on the line.
Gives a shit. They're judging. They're refereeing.
But that's important.
Yeah. So what? But you pay them more for what? I
don't know. The third man in the ring. I kind of feel like he deserves a little more. No.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think that sounds like a fair night's work for me.
Okay.
Well, but also, the other, in this event too, the promotion. What if it's on that same kind of thing?
Yeah.
What if Canelo or somebody else who's a superstar is fighting a guy who's not? It's just, or a guy earns a shot and he's getting a fight.
Sure.
The promoter of the event is the one paying the judges and the referees. So why would you ever want, like, for example, Canelo, who's a star, or Mayweather, who's a star, or, those are the best. Pacquiao really is no longer there, but the guy, use Canelo Alvarez as an example.
Yep.
Okay, you want to pay the referee a record number.
Yep.
You want to pay the judges more. Why would those referees and judges ever fucking want Canelo Alvarez to lose?
Absolutely, but isn't it the commission?
No, stop right there. You said absolutely. Wait. Then why would you, honestly, they really should probably get the same kind of standardized pay for a big event that they would normally get. Because, like, if you're gonna, that's how you build in what I'm talking about. That thing that I'm calling an inherent, sort of like underlying, sort of like co-option, or corruption's not quite the right word. But
I get what you're saying.
But there's an economic incentive to every judge and referee. Man, I'd like to be assigned to that guy's fight if they're going to get, the judge or the referee is going to get a record pay because that guy's such a star. But it creates, at least in the back of that person's mind or in the recesses of them, the understanding that the success of that particular athlete that's justifying these huge numbers to the referees and the judges, that success continuing means potentially more big paydays for referees and judges.
Isn't the commission paying them?
What?
Isn't the commission paying them?
No.
Mayweather Promotions is paying them.
Yes.
Wow.
The commission the commission set the number.
But the pay.
Yes.
That's a conflict of interest.
No shit.
Okay.
I mean, not so much in this. I mean, this fight, though, it's McGregor, and Mayweather, it's UFC and boxing. I don't think that they're writing the check. The amount was set by the commission. Sure. But the point I'm making too is in a different situation. In a different situation where there's a knowledge that more money can be made or with one particular guy,
right?
There is sort of elements of a conflict of interest.
A boxing promoter told me today, who shall remain nameless, that they were not a fan of the decision to put Robert Byrd as the referee because he's old, he's 74. This may be a dirty fight. Are you familiar with Byrd?
He's a good referee.
You're okay with it?
He's a good referee. I mean, I can understand.
74 is pretty old.
I could understand the argument, but then you also get into age discrimination and all sorts of shit. And they wanted someone probably that, there's not. Byrd knows what he's doing. I could see.
This is going to be a physical fight.
I could see the point that promoter was making to you about the physicality, the potential physicality of the fight.
Yeah.
Also, it's easy to see how things could get a little bit out of hand in this particular kind of fight.
Right.
McGregor's in uncharted land. I mean, this is a real fight. It's not a sparring session.
Sure.
All right, the bell rings, he's there, and there is a full arena full of people that paid a fortune. And his instincts as an athlete, as a combat sports athlete, have been to use kicks, elbows, takedown methods, submission holds, et cetera, et cetera. In the heat of the moment or after being hit, if he's hit and stunned or whatever, can you see a situation where even without like overtly making a decision, something would like cause him to, physically do something that the average boxer wouldn't. You could see that. So maybe the argument is in this particular matchup, you'd be better off with a more physically strong. But Byrd's not a frail guy, and it's not like he's 94.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like now there are a lot of people in their 70s who are in pretty damn good shape.
Sure.
Like I don't think I don't think Byrd's going to be an issue.
Okay. Just curious. So you went to Harvard.
Law school,
excuse me.
Tufts University.
Yep. 11 years at HBO.
Yeah.
You essentially one day said to someone, an executive, like, go F yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you went and then you started your own promotional company. You were involved with launching Boxing After Dark. I mean, you were there.
I probably wouldn't have started my own promotional company if I wasn't forced to.
Right. So
when I left, like
you were planning on staying at HBO, right?
Yeah, well, when you tell the chairman of a company to go after himself, you're likely not going to stay.
Okay.
I mean, and I didn't get fired, but like that pretty much fractures. It fractures a relationship.
Sure. So what do you mean you wouldn't have started your own promotional company?
When I left, I made a deal to leave, and part of the deal that was made was, we'll stake you in the boxing business.
Okay.
I really, honestly, might have made a complete.
What would you have done?
Probably like some of the stuff I'm already doing.
Okay.
And it didn't turn out to work out particularly badly for me.
Okay.
Because I was able to continue my involvement in boxing at a very, very high level, but I've been able to do a lot of other things. I mean,
But what
I've produced films. I've executive produced films. I've been in a few films. I've published some books through my company for other people, friends of mine who are writers and stuff I believed in. I've been. I run 2 minor league baseball.
Yep. It's not bad for a mom and pop company.
No, not bad for mom, but it still is a mom and pop company. I mean, it's my,
you have 7 employees. Is that accurate?
7. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So my question.
Well, if you go down to Richmond, we have a
of course
big group, and I have people that work for me in Richmond and Montgomery, like in management, who are really top.
Right.
Baseball, minor league baseball people who really, really know what they're doing too.
How do you feel about the state of HBO? Did you ever foresee that Showtime would be putting on, and maybe you disagree, but it seems like Showtime has surpassed them in terms of being the powerhouse.
I think Showtime at the moment as an entity, I'm not talking about the Peter Nelson, the guy running HBO.
Are you a fan?
I like Peter.
Okay.
Yeah. I like him personally. I mean, we've been friends for years. I like him.
Yeah. Young guy, smart guy.
Yeah.
Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like him. But I think that to the people, the powers that be, I think boxing's more important and more valued
at Showtime.
At Showtime right now than it is at HBO. That's my perception.
Okay.
And look, I mean, HBO right now, I don't think that boxing's growing subscribership.
Okay.
I think that Game of Thrones powers that, is a locomotive that pulls it. I think that HBO had so much success for so long in boxing with almost no, Showtime for many, many years was really in the rearview mirror. I think that just a bunch of factors at the same time. I mean, Mayweather went over to Showtime. Showtime saw sort of a de-emphasis a little bit over at HBO with respect to their, to boxing and elected to put more resources, to it. But people make what they believe are business decisions in the interests of, of the company as a whole, of the mothership.
Yeah.
HBO's doing just fine, but I think Showtime boxing has made major strides over the last decade.
How's your relationship with Espinoza, Steven?
Really
Espinoza?
good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Last week, Heather Hardy was on the program, who you promote.
Yeah.
And she was hoping to get his ear, hoping that he will put her on Showtime.
I don't think, I think Heather, look, Heather's a lot better than people. You don't get to be 20-0 without being better than people.
But here she is begging for a shot just on television.
But Amanda Serrano's got 5. Look, Heather can fight.
Yeah.
Okay? And Heather's a compelling personality.
Yeah.
I mean, she was here. It was
fantastic.
The girl's got an amazing backstory.
Right.
She's got incredible heart. She goes in there and everything she has, she lays it out. I mean, I've always made the comparison. I think it may bother her a little bit, but it shouldn't, because I think of it as like great respect.
Okay.
That I view her in that like Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti kind of realm.
Why would that bother her?
Because, I don't know, because there are other people out there like, who just look at her and they say, well, like fucking Dan Rayfield too, at ESPN. He's like, well, I don't think Heather's that. Who gives a shit? I mean, Arturo Gatti wasn't pound for pound, and he's your favorite fighter, Dan.
Yeah.
I mean, Heather gives 110%, and her fights are entertaining. Amanda Serrano is a different thing. I mean, Amanda Serrano's won all these titles and all these different weight classes, and she's got the pound for pound thing going for her. Then you have Claressa Shields, who I'm a big fan of, like what she's done as an amateur athlete. The 2 gold medals. Sure, it's huge. I mean, she was really our biggest amateur boxing star in recent years. In this country, but they all share the same issue. The problem that TV networks are not anteing up for women's boxing.
I don't get it. It's so popular in MMA.
I actually think there's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, and I don't get why another player is not swooping in, because women's boxing's demographics are a little bit younger. It appeals to men and women. Women are much more likely to be interested in a women's boxing match.
That's right.
Than 2 men fighting.
That's right.
Younger people are used to seeing women compete in MMA and women's boxing. I think as many eyeballs, I think, would be turned to a good women's boxing fight as to men.
But it feels like there's a bit of momentum now.
There's some momentum, but like
Kayla Mayer, right? Just signed with Top Rank.
Yeah, so what?
No, I mean, that's another name, right?
Yeah, but she signed with Top Rank. So what?
Oh, I mean, nothing's going to happen?
No, I'm not saying nothing's going to happen. I think her pro debut was televised. She's very attractive, very good athlete, was an Olympian. She picked up boxing, sort of, she wasn't in the boxing, game for a long, long time, managed to make the Olympic team. I respect her too. De La Hoya signed a woman for the first time.
Katie Taylor.
Katie Taylor signed with Eddie Hearn in England.
Yep.
Frank Warren signed.
So isn't this more than usual? Like there's more names?
Yeah, because like, but it's still like a novelty.
Is it?
There's no women's boxing series.
Okay.
There's no regular television for women's boxing. Heather's frustrated. The point I was making to you is they're all frustrated. I mean, like you can go, the common thread between all these women is that there's not a women's boxing league, series, television outlet.
Is there any talks of it?
Are
you interested in it?
Yeah, I am actually, because I think that there's a talent pool. Particularly, it's more difficult if you're Claressa Shields, because you're at a bigger weight class where there are fewer women.
Same problem in MMA.
Huge problem for Claressa because she's so excellent.
Yeah.
And by the way, like again, should she be penalized because she's so much better than everybody else at her weight? No. Flip side of that, I think there are under 20 people in her weight class in the whole world.
Sure. Chris Cyborg, who's her friend, has the same problem. Best fighter in the world. There's no one who fights at 145.
Yeah, and Chris is like, I have a lot of respect for her.
Your friends?
No, we chatted over direct messaging recently.
Oh, wow.
Just because I'd seen something she'd put up about wanting to be in boxing, and I was curious about what she was thinking and her feelings. And she's a bright lady. I mean, she's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I actually am a fan of her. There's another girl. I always have a problem with this name, but there's a woman in UFC in a smaller weight class. I think Polish.
Yes, Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
That girl's unbelievable.
115.
I mean, she's unbelievable. Like
Tremendous striker.
I'm a huge fan of. I've like seen her fight and her matches, and like I mean that girl's got like talent out the wazoo.
Yep. So back to Heather Hardy. Will she get on Showtime? Do you think?
I think so. Yeah, but I also think someone needs to take the next step. It would be a great move for any of the look. Even for HBO, it seems to be constricting its budget a little bit more.
Yes.
If they dedicated some of that budget to women's boxing, they could have a category where they could really take that category to another place. I mean, Showtime's had a great stretch for the last couple of years. I say this to Steven all the time now. Steven, take like the amount of money you pay for one good men's show and give that budget for a boxing series for women.
I think it would be very well received.
Yeah, not only would it be well received, the women would make more money than they're making right now.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean, there's that's part of the problem. But like Amanda Serrano fought on Showtime Extreme multiple times. Heather fought on FS1. And her fight with Shelley Vincent was a terrific, it was Female Fight of the Year, Ring Magazine, 2016. It did a good, solid rating on FS1 when it was televised. And FS1 doesn't do anymore, now and then that a woman's fight will appear.
Yeah.
Same way, Steven, I've been begging Steven to get a all-woman show.
Yeah. You think he'll do it?
Well, he's he's supported Claressa.
Yeah.
She's had, her early fights on Showtime.
Yeah.
Amanda Serrano's getting some support at Showtime. But there needs to be somebody to be some television entity or some television executive needs to step up and to be that force for women's boxing.
Are you okay with Heather signing this deal with Bellator? Or are you
the Bellator people were really they respected the fact that I had a deal. And
do you get the right to first refusal or anything?
No, we coordinated things in a way that where she'll compete in both sports and they'll respect her participation in boxing and I'll respect her participation in Bellator. I also think there's a shared desire here, and this will be the case for any of the women I have. And right now, look, I'll be honest with you. If I was able to pay Heather and Amanda, if I was able to pay Shelley Vincent, the other women I have under contract, what I think's appropriate, and make the fights for them that people want to see, I would probably stand by the technicalities of my contract. Yeah. But take Heather, who's a single mom, trying to make it in her mid-30s, who's given her blood and sweat, to boxing for years. She's undefeated, and struggling to make a living. I have Amanda Serrano, who's won five championships in 5 different weight classes. I mean, she's about to try. She fought a fight at 118 pounds this year on Showtime. Credit to Espinoza, he gave us that opportunity to put her on Showtime Extreme, and she beat an 118-pound girl. She's going to fight for a 140-pound title before the end of the year. Wow. That's jumping 5 weight classes in 1 year. She will have fought at 118, and she's going to go to 140 because she wants to be the first. She wants to move into that sphere that only De La Hoya and Pacquiao were in, of 6 championships. But here's the problem, too. She's now looking at MMA. Why is she looking at MMA? Despite she's 28 years old, she's won all these belts, she's considered pound for pound one of the best in the world, and she can't make a living in boxing alone. There's a problem. And I'm not going to stop a woman from being able to support herself and her family. So, if the industry changes to the point where the women who are big attractions, the women who are champions, there's an outlet for their talent and that they can get paid right, then I might not be so willing to do these kind of deals. But in the world as it exists right now, people got to pay. They got to pay the bills.
Do you think that there's going to be a trickle-down effect as far as MMA boxing fights? We're seeing a lot of guys say, oh.
But there's loads of trickle-down effects already. I mean, this whole promotion is called, I mean, I've gotten so many solicitations and calls from MMA athletes, and I'm not mentioning any names, so don't fucking ask.
Okay. Which names could you, just kidding.
Okay, but a lot of people that have called around, some of whom are like, guys that are known to be strikers that are seeing, and you know what's interesting too? The MMA fighter thinks the grass is greener and there's this economic potential in boxing. The boxers think the grass is greener and there's all this economic potential in MMA. Then all of a sudden now, Chris Cyborg's talking about fighting a boxer. Claressa Shields was tweeting about fighting a MMA fighter. You're seeing all this. I've had a couple of my male fighters. I have a couple of kids that fight for me who were jiu-jitsu black belts and kickboxers when they were real young, saying, "Hey, if ever the opportunity came, I would test this out."
The lines are blurring.
The lines are blurring. And by the way, Stephen, Peter Nelson, listen to me. Like, this is also the time to understand the lines are blurring. There's opportunity for women. Women's boxing right now should be embraced to a great extent because there are women with star potential who are not able to realize their potential in boxing. But there are women like Heather Hardy, for example, Amanda Serrano, Claressa Shields. You mentioned top-ranked signed Michaela. There are loads of other women out there, loads that are not signed. There are loads of women that have given their, like Layla McCarter, who's given her blood and sweat to boxing, and she's, now like she's been in the sport forever, and one of the most decorated fighters, and never been able to get to those level of paydays that make it all worthwhile. And there are people coming up. As the lines blur, we have to do a better job of recognizing women that are competing in boxing and giving them a platform and an opportunity, venues to fight, and ability to make money. Or they're all going to run off to MMA. But the interesting part is when they go to MMA, they're also going to find it's not such an easy road there either. But I'll tell you what, MMA is a little bit more forgiving than boxing.
In terms of?
A loss.
100%.
See, like...
Look at Conor. He lost a year and a half ago.
Badly.
No one cares. In fact, he got more popular after the loss.
Okay, but you know what, too? I think he's going to lose next Saturday. But if he goes down, like I think he's going to go, look, that motherfucker's going to try to win. He's going to try to hurt Floyd. He's going to chase him around the ring. He's going to be unorthodox if he has to. He may throw some shit that will make a boxing purist laugh, but he's going to be looking to like catch Floyd when he's not looking. The punch that hurts you is the one you don't see coming. Even if you're just an ordinary guy. You know what I mean? Like, someone hits you, when you don't see it, like cold cocks you, you're in trouble. If you see a punch coming, you at least brace yourself, there's some move or whatever. So if McGregor makes a good account of himself in losing, okay, it's another loss. Who gives a fuck? And by the way, it's even another sport. But to the MMA fighter, they're used to losing. How many undefeated MMA fighters are there?
No, not that many.
Not a lot.
No.
Boxing builds the whole way the sport is run, which I disagree with totally. And by the way, credit, self-pat on the fucking back. When I was at HBO, I didn't give a shit about, if a guy made a great fight, I didn't care if he lost. I brought back Arturo Gatti time after time when he lost, and I brought back Mickey Ward when he lost. There were other fighters that just made amazing fights, and if you make an amazing fight, you deserve to be on television again. MMA gets that better than boxing. If you're doing your job right, and the matches are significant, and the matches are evenly matched, now, there are guys like Terrence Crawford or Mayweather. I can go through a list. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are superior enough that the undefeated record is representative. But you can get a ham sandwich to 18-0 in boxing. There are professional opponents everywhere. There are commissions that'll let you put in a guy that's been knocked out multiple times. There are commissions that'll approve mismatches that are dangerous. Forget about non-competitive. You can literally get a ham sandwich to 18-0. Okay? You can't do that so easily in MMA.
No.
So that's another problem in boxing. That's got to change. Like, a guy shouldn't, if you're sitting there looking to make a good fight, a guy that's superior, has superior talent and ability, just the fact that his opponent is undefeated doesn't make that a desirable matchup. You know, there are a lot of people that are undefeated that are limited.
Yeah.
And I really believe that that's a mistake as an industry we make. But again, who's looking out for our industry? There's no governing body, there's no force, there's no board, there's nothing.
Commissioner, nothing.
There's nothing. And we don't have like UFC, Bellator, you know, I don't know the names of all of them, but you know.
I get your point.
My point, we don't have those organizations that intelligently make business decisions for the good of their organization. You know, a promoter is different. You're promoting an event.
Right.
It's really what you're doing.
Right.
In the old days of boxing, promoters didn't have long-term contracts with fighters. The managers had the long-term contract. The lines between manager and promoter have become muddled. You asked why don't I really think I probably should be managing the women fighters I have in MMA. I know more about combat sports and the business around combat sports than most of the people who could manage them out there.
Yep.
But there are lines in boxing. A manager has a certain role and a fiduciary duty. A promoter, under the law, doesn't have a duty to maximize the fight. The promoter's duty is to not lie to the fighter, not break any law, not do anything that can get you in trouble.
Right.
The Ali Act, you mentioned the Ali Act for MMA.
Yeah.
The Ali Act is pretty ineffectual in boxing. Only a couple of times in the history of boxing has the Ali Act ever been used effectively to protect anybody. And the majority of promoters, a lot of them, will not tell the fighter how much money is there. They'll not do the Ali Act reporting. The law requires the Ali Act reporting be signed and done after the fight. A lot of guys won't give the information to the fighter till after the fight. Now, the fighter's already signed his bout agreement. He's already signed the binding contract. And he doesn't know whether he's getting 40% of the money or 50% of the money or 70% of money or 80% of money for certain. The Ali Act reporting isn't done till after the fight. So like even the way it works in boxing isn't really fair. I mean, my attitude is if I'm working with a fighter that's hit the level of significance that there's a television license fee for their services, like a champion and the money is being paid by the network, then I'll just show the fighter, like, here's what's there and here's what, you know, I'm offering you and here's what I want to take, and have it out before the event. There are other guys that will literally hold confidentiality clauses with the networks, like, you know, the strength of those, and basically, I'm not telling you. And we'll hand the Ali Act reporting requirement to the fighter after the fight. What good does that do? You can't negotiate after you sign the contract. You can't negotiate after your check's been handed to you. You can be pissed off, but by the way, if that way of doing business is not antithetical to the contract you signed with the promoter, you're just fucked anyway. You know, you could be mad, you could leave that promoter after your contract's over, but you know, the Ali Act's not out there like, it's not like boxing's fair because there's an Ali Act, and MMA's unfair because there's not. You know, right now there's not a lot of teeth to the Ali Act.
Fair enough. You know, one of the best things to come out of this fight, at least for me, is these two worlds coming together, the MMA and boxing world, and getting to talk to people like you. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm going to be kind of sad when it all goes away, you know, because it's been fun to learn a little more about your sport. And,
you know,
have the worlds come together.
Here's an interesting question, and I'm going to throw it to you.
Sure.
You think that if next Saturday turns out to be, it's not a travesty.
Yeah.
Does it all go away?
No.
So I don't think so either.
I don't think so. If it's remotely
entertaining or competitive, or I think that there's a very good chance that these lines continue to muddle.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations on all your success. I know you came sort of begrudgingly. It's been a long trek for you to get here, but I really appreciate it. I've been a long time fan of yours. I used to work at HBO as an intern.
I knew that.
So it's been great picking your brain. I'm happy to hear that you're going to the event.
Yeah, I'm looking for. You know what? I don't know what to expect. I should be there.
You should be there. All the boxing.
I want to go. I think there'll be some look. I don't know why people watch all the reality TV they watch. I don't know why people are into the Kardashians. I don't know a lot of things, and maybe I know that I'm interested in seeing what goes on next Saturday. I am interested. So,
Embrace it.
like, I'm going to be there. You know, I'm not going to bullshit anybody. I'm interested. I'm going.
Much respect. Thank you, Lou.
Thank
All
you.
the best to you as we knock down perhaps a sign of the current state of things here in this country, right?
Well, if there's a current state of things, you'd have knock down the American flag.
Thank you, Lou.
The state of things in this country, that's a whole other radio show.
I know, but
it's a whole different podcast.
I follow you on Twitter.
So you know that I'm a left wing.
And by the way, I'm on the same side of you. My man Joe is going to walk you out here. I appreciate it very much. There he goes, Lou DiBella. Thank you for coming, Lou, and I hope to see you out there in Vegas.
I look forward to it.
All right, there he is, Lou DiBella of DiBella Entertainment. Great stuff from him. I really appreciate his time, and I think he's one of the very best as far as promotion is concerned. That was great.